So I think any of these logos can easily be formatted in that way, and you'll see, like, just as an example, I had shown the different, this is how I had originally thought of it, and then I tried to insert it in places, and it was starting to be problematic, and then I started looking at other ways. So having something long and narrow seemed to work relatively well. I think the second option that I came up with, I don't think you'd be able to, when doing that, you'd be able to see these vision, plan, act words very well, so I think we should kind of scrap that idea altogether. And I think Joanne, I'm going to let her speak to her options, but I think a lot of these could, like especially this first one, could easily be moved over and elongated. So maybe Joanne can speak a little bit to that.
Sure. I'd first, attributions are important. I am not a graphic designer, but I have family who are. So I helped with the ideas, but they helped laid it out for me. What I did try to do was capture some graphic standard icons. So I tried to capture a tree for, outdoors, natural resources, our windmill. We actually don't have a lighthouse, except the non-working ones, and ones associated with hotels. Sorry.
Point Gannon, yeah.
Associated with hotels.
Oh, Point Gannon, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right, but that's absolutely. And it still has its cap. So maybe good enough to leave it. One of the other ones tried to capture the Grace Beach boardwalk, just a kind of throwing ideas on a board and seeing what sort of stuck. Housing, obviously the icon for a house. And then I think the center one there, it's meant to be government. It's kind of looking like some kind of official government on the first one. But as I went through it, and again, these are all just kind of one-offs off of the basic one that Kathy had, capturing all the same community visioning. I did a little bit of look-see around the country for things, and one really captured my interest, and I thought we might try to work it in, and it was somewhere. Our voice, our vision, our future. So it would be, instead of community visioning, that line on the first, as an example, on the very first one, it could be, and it would be long, Kath, which is what we're looking for. Our voice, our vision, our future. Was just one that seemed to capture, it caught my eye. The other thing I liked about voice was the fact that the whole visioning process is about listening to our neighbors and our townspeople's voices. So that I took it a step further and suggested some changes using that voice kind of idea on the larger description, the website initial text, where it would be, and I have some changes here as well, but we can maybe do that separately.
Let's do the one that, yeah, that's from,
separately.
yep.
So that was my idea, is that maybe community visioning, because I like the Envision Plan Act, and I kind of like the logos, if we the icons, if we can get them in there. But I did like the our voice, our vision, our future. Just throwing that out there.
I mean, there's kind of two things. There could be just the label, which is Yarmouth Community Visioning, and then there's the tagline, which could be our voice, our vision, our future.
Yep.
May I make a comment, Mr. Chairman?
Go right ahead.
I'd even go so far as to make a motion to just go with option one. I really like that a lot. Envision Plan Act says it all. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I would just take this little line below and make that into a bunch of little waves, so you get the nautical layer on there too, and that would be it. That's all I have to say.
Can you elongate it, or?
I can make a phone call and have it elongated.
Okay.
With a wave.
With a wave, with a
Put
wave.
a wave in there would be fantastic, but it's
How about a
great.
clam? Can you get a clam in there?
That's a great idea. Well, I asked for a beach chair.
I started with I took the O in Yarmouth and made it a ship's wheel, but then it was getting a little too crazy, so I took it out, and I just figured a little water right there would
Yep.
be.
I thought of a beach chair or an umbrella, because that's really not in, the beach thing isn't in it.
I need to be a little clear on the timing for me.
Yep.
I'm out next week, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later with regard to publicity, but I need to get out the mailers, the inserts that are going to be going into the water department. I'm sorry, thank you, the water bills this week.
Okay.
So if we're gonna, we have to make a decision tonight, and then you have to get me the graphic as quickly as possible, so that I can incorporate that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just to ask, is that possible?
I don't know, I'll have to find out. And I need to know what, I'm not even going to know the right words, what format,
Space.
what
Yeah.
PDF,
It's gonna
what
be a
Adobe
PDF,
graphics.
PNG, whoever the graphic designer is,
Yeah, it
should
is.
be able to knock that out and save it as any kind of a file, TIFF, GIF, JPEG.
That can be edited?
JPEGs work best because they're the clearest,
Okay.
and then they can be like increased in size or decreased in size.
Yep.
And can those things be edited?
No, no.
No, once you make it and save it as a JPEG, it's a file.
Okay.
It would be helpful to me to know the fonts that were used, because then, maybe on some other things, we can just use that font and some of the text as
You
well
want
for
it all to
consistency,
match.
yeah. I'm just saying, you start adding beach chairs and umbrellas, and do we know what that's going to look like?
No,
So-
you won't, I don't know what I know the beach chair was an issue relative to scale. A beach chair next to what looks like a house, the scale is really kind of out of whack.
Do we really have to make that decision this evening? And what do we have going out where we're going to be looking
Well,
for
the
this?
tagline, I think, definitely.
What's this?
The tagline, I think you do, right? Or do you need the logo too?
Yeah.
If you look later on just the little things that we were having, just a little something at the top. It would be nice if we had just our pick, whatever we were going to have, because this is what's going out, and this is going to be the people's first version and vision of what we're
Can't we
kinda
go
seeing.
with something like that and then build on it later as we pick up momentum?
We can
No?
do anything you guys want. I just know that we got a lot of work to do, and I don't know how much time we want to spend on
Yeah, true.
one aspect of it. It's up to you guys. Even if I could just, if we decide on this, and we have this graphic, and you can just get me that graphic, I
Flip
could
it
at
over.
least put it in the corner here,
But
you know?
take that, instead of running across, if you flipped it over, you could use this graphic really easily, because it would shrink down to form as the top
Flip it
of
over.
your brochure.
These are 1/3, so they're going to cut this, and that 1/3's going into your, and 1/3's going into your bill, and
I
1/3's going
understand
into your
that.
bill.
So what you, sorry, I do a little bit of design. So, it'll be like, instead of the text reading this way, it's this way, and that logo is up at the top here, because you could shrink it to fit, right? And then all your text could be right there. That's all I'm saying.
I just,
Brad?
I'm just looking at the scale that Kathy's holding.
Yeah.
And you can see the top part of the quote-unquote, lack of a better term, insert gift certificate. However, if those people at home, you can picture a gift certificate in your hand or a coupon. That's what we're working with. So the top aspect is going to be the one part where there's a quote-unquote logo. And I think this is going to be a little busy to fit into the upper left-hand corner. You may want to go with something just a little simpler, because the human eye reads from the upper left to the bottom right, and they're going to scan it quickly. So I'm just saying that you may want something just a little simpler that can go in that first mailer. Just, again,
Even something like the circle.
Maybe the mailer can just be this. I mean, it's just a start. It's just a start.
Just
That
need
was
an
my point.
icon.
Build on
Yeah.
it later.
So,
Chris has a good point. As you know, I've made different brochures for my books or for the current issue of the links course. But this vertical arrangement can be very easily adapted for different images and then text, and depends on how readable you want that, and that can go two-sided as well. just take a regular sheet and then fold it
Yeah.
over, so it's...
I can't do two-sided for the water bills. What I can do is, if I send this to them in a PDF, they can put this on color, so we can't have black and white print, but they can be on a color, we can pick a color. And then they're gonna cut them in thirds, and each little coupon, like you say, goes in there. So I don't have the ability to fold or second size or color in order to get that out. Getting this on this size with the spacing for the cutting was difficult. The idea of trying to turn it this way, I don't know what that would look like or how I would get it to fit any better. I think this icon here, I don't have an issue if you want to change that to the small, whatever icon you have here, and then we can work upon the other stuff later.
If time is really of an issue, why don't you just send out what
Yeah, what do
I
you
mean,
have?
that's great with the way you have it. Why do the work again?
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
initial to put in the water
Fine,
bill, you gotta
yeah.
get it out, send it out.
That
I
sounds
think that's
good.
a good
I
idea.
need to, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the text for the website, because I'm putting in the web page here. So maybe we can start with it looking like this, and then when we finalize it, I can easily edit that and move it along. The problem is this, I can't edit. It's going to go in the March, April, and May mailers, and that's kind of it.
That's fine.
That's
Okay, all right, yeah, that,
Maybe we have time to get it for April and
Sure.
redesign it for April.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how they work that, or whether they just kind of send it off and it goes in the next 3
Would
slots.
we ask for input from the public
For,
as we go through the process?
Logo?
Yeah, well,
no, no.
No, I wouldn't.
If we're
I would
getting
get
bogged
creative.
down on a logo, we're going to have a hell of a time later. I'm just saying, I think, and I think even just this, this little part here is a good logo, and then we can easily worry about moving this over to the side or fitting it or whatever we want to do later if everyone's kind of, and I like the idea of the different icons that show different aspects of our community. I think that's a great idea.
I think those can definitely be used for the sections on the website which identify the topics, so you can pull those from there and utilize them separately. I think that's really.
That's funny, because I already made icons on each page.
Right. I think,
I should have included them.
But having a central one that's with the logo, I think that it's a little too busy. Because it doesn't, to me, it doesn't depict actually visioning the vision of what we're focusing on. It broadens it, I think, but I don't know. I love, though, the icons. I think they're really sweet and very modern. Is this a family member that did this?
Yeah,
for
it's my
you?
niece.
That's fantastic.
All that education, I
Yeah.
guess. I don't know.
So, I think though Brad pointed out, like, maybe the nautical theme, I like the nautical theme. I actually went through a lot of words to pick, like, and try to figure out what we were doing, and then gaining on that nautical theme, I actually thought of a compass, because we're trying to find our direction. And I came up with charting our future together, or setting sight and charting our future. So,
Set a course.
yeah, setting course, so I didn't know that we were supposed to send these early, but I came up
great idea.
that maybe we can
That's great.
utilize this concept and the color schemes and everything, but I just blended the town seal logo with the town of Yarmouth's Cape Cod within, and the Yarmouth Cape Cod within reach with, so that's all I came up with, was an actual compass concept. So, because then we can figure out where our north or south and all of that is. I thought that
Could we
was
have,
kind of
like,
cool.
Yarmouth Community Visioning, and then just charting our future together, or something along that, and then
Yeah.
having the icon be the compass?
Yeah.
And then we can use those smaller ones for within the
Yeah.
actual.
This is shrunken is going to be very,
Yeah.
It'll be very grabbing, I think.
That's
eye-catching.
great. I really like this.
That's very nice.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm going to need,
Merchant Mariner, I really,
Still needs an elephant.
Yeah, I thought it was,
I think it needs a shark coming out of the side.
Now, you said the water company is going to cut those,
Yeah.
cut those up so they can put them in the
It's
mail?
not the water company, they send it off to somebody, yes, they send it off to somebody, and they print them out, and then they,
yeah, like setting our course.
yeah. I kind of like the green and the blue.
Yeah, I just
I do
mixed them
too.
up a little bit.
Absolutely.
You can change it to any color, but
What
yeah.
format is this in, please?
it can be PDF, JPEG.
So what program?
Just believe it or not, Word.
Is that word?
Okay, yes, if
Yeah.
you can send that to me,
will.
that would be great. So does that make some sense, you know, kind of having this Yarmouth community visiting and charting our future? I like the idea of together, because it gets, or we could do something where you're saying about the,
hand that over?
our voice, our vision, our future, or something along those lines.
Setting our course, charting our future.
Yep, whatever you guys want. Those are all great taglines, I think, for what we're talking about.
And it says it.
I like the idea of something that kind of says together,
Yeah,
or,
Our.
that it's a community based.
right,
Setting our
right,
course,
right.
charting our future.
Or, yeah,
It's us, right?
Yep.
do you want to put together at the end, or? No, just charting our future, charting our future.
Emily said it best.
So it's going to be this, Yarmouth Community Visioning, charting our future. Yes?
So,
Everyone agree?
yeah,
Oh, sounds good.
yeah, sounds great.
all right.
This is looking funny. I feel like we need to, I feel like if you just put this, people don't know what this is. You need to say it's community visioning somewhere. I think you need the formal title, even though you have a tagline that's saying what you're doing.
I would do that, just community visioning in that little, like this right here. Yarmouth community visioning, and then
I like yeah, we can marry some of these together. I like the concept.
again, you don't need this right now
No.
to send out your mailer.
I'd love this. Why not put that in?
Okay.
It's going to be, you know, probably a little small
Yeah.
for there, but at least it kind of, people might start recognizing that little picture as we go along.
Excuse me.
Is that something that makes sense?
These are so sweet.
So you'll get this to me in Word?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Because when you shrink this down, when we see it, you're not going to be able to read community visioning. You're just
No.
not. So,
Maybe we can just put Yarmouth inside the seal. Is there a
It is on
blue
the,
map of Yarmouth? Instead of on Cape Cod?
yeah, I mean, it is, I was trying to marry the two, but I could definitely just do Yarmouth inside of it.
That would be cool. That would look nice.
Just right, Yarmouth.
It is there.
I like
Yeah.
you pulling it in with the
It
seal.
is. It's the seals
the logo
on it,
that's
yeah.
somewhat known by the town is the whole thing with the star.
Yeah,
You might be able to make it a little bit bigger. It might be,
instead of removing the community vision.
yeah, I really don't, when you squeeze it down to what I'm going to need it for
Sure.
an icon or like for a
Yep.
footer or a header, probably will be a little bit small.
Okay. I'll do that.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
Good ideas all around.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you taking comments on the actual wording in the water department
I'm just saying, I had
flyer?
already done that and taken the little housing things and put the icons on. So if you can get me that, I mean, we can certainly use some of those icons.
Sure.
That'd be great. I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Are you taking, are we also, I had a couple of minor comments on the actual words for
Oh,
the
yeah.
flyer.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I'm jumping ahead, Mr. Chairman,
No,
since we're on the flyer.
open discussion.
Which one?
I wanted to make a suggestion about the 4 bullets, the 3 bullets, rather,
Sure.
on the water bill insert. What do you think about the first one saying, "What makes Yarmouth a good place to live, work, or visit?" And the second would
Hold on,
be,
give her a sec.
Well, that's one of the questions from the draft workshop, so,
I'd suggest that you shorten them. So if you want to make more of an impact, you give people less to read.
okay.
Yeah.
So,
A
what
good
do you like
place.
about Yarmouth, question mark? What is missing from our town, question mark? What untapped opportunities are out there, question mark? It's-
That-
Simplifies it.
Yep.
I think, I'm all about simplification.
And the only other suggestion I had was on the website one, drop the fourth bullet.
Okay. The only reason I put it in there was it's the 4 SWAT things, that's all. It's really, what are the threats? What's keeping us from reaching our vision? That's the only reason it's in
Could
there.
I
I'd
say
be
one
happy to
thing
take
first?
that.
People don't know what our vision is yet. So that's sort of an odd, asking a
Okay.
question a little too early.
Yeah.
Our potential, reaching our potential, or we can take it out altogether.
What is your vision for
Maybe
Yarmouth's
it's
future?
about the obstacles, right? and threats.
Right, it's what's the obstacles that are, the threats that are keeping us from reaching our best Yarmouth?
What is your vision for Yarmouth's future? You want to ask the individual the question, they're the ones that are going to come to the workshop. That's what we want them to think about, correct?
Yep. So I'll take out that 4th one, and I'll just say, what's your vision for Yarmouth's future? Sounds good?
Yeah.
We will be editing and updating this as we go along. This is just literally the first page. And hopefully, I don't know if any of you have seen the water resources page. It's very nicely done as they got more things to add on, and it's a little bit more interesting than our standard web pages. We're hoping to be able to get an icon up at the top, like there's water resources, getting a visioning one, so we're right there up at the top. And also, I've been working and talking with Kyle about our constant contact, which is used by the water resources. There is the opportunity to have other layers to that, multiple accounts, so to speak, so people could sign up for a visioning constant contact so that they can, once they sign up, they can keep up to date with things that are going on.
Yeah, the compass gives a very good focus for that top of the page that you're talking about.
I can't get a whole section. I can only get a tab. I think once you get in the tab, this is a great opportunity to have all of that. And maybe sometimes when we do, whenever we do a Facebook or social media, we'll try and have that icon as part of that. Trying to keep it out there as much so people don't even have to read the words anymore. They just see it and they go, oh, that's about visioning. But this is excellent. Thank you so much.
And just one other suggestion about the website. This is the danger when you ask me to do homework. I would suggest that we try to avoid input, the word input, and maybe use your participation in the visioning initiative will help identify.
How about
And
feedback?
then
Makes sense.
your voice will also serve as an important guide to the development.
Where are you talking?
I'm sorry, on the website
specifically?
page.
Yeah, so where are you talking?
Paragraph 2, underneath the
Okay,
bullets. Your participation in the visioning initiative. And then the second paragraph there, your voice will also serve as an important guide. And then in the third paragraph, again, substituting voice for input.
How about feedback?
Better word. I
And-
like voice.
And the second sentence there, to maximize community input, I would say community engagement. You've used that engagement before.
Yep. And you're going to give me those edits?
I have
Because I'm I
I
wasn't quite following all of those, but I
I got
think
'em.
it's up to the board if that sounds good to them.
Just those, just a couple of suggestions.
Yeah, the way it's listed, input is too repetitive. Joanne is correct that it should, semantically, it can say the same thing, but it doesn't have to be the same word.
Nope, that's great.
Narrowing it down.
Yeah, no, this is great.
I made an edit for the first line, but I'll just send it to you.
For which
I'll
one?
read it. I don't want to take up our time. Just an edit that I thought would read
Well, I
nicer.
mean, it's up to the board. He's just saying undertaking a year-long visioning process. Yep.
It just
Sure.
cleans up the sentence a little bit. Thank you, Miss Rice.
Is that your teacher from?
My high school teacher. You are, yes.
Excellent.
I mean, you're welcome, Miss Rice.
Yeah, you're making her look good. All right, excellent.
On a roll.
So just to summarize, I got some good edits here. I'm going to get something from Liz, hopefully
Yes,
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
I'll try and incorporate it somehow into the flyer and also at the top here with a long version. And I think we're in good shape for that part of it. So
On to publicity.
that was I think we kind of double dipped on the publicity.
You think?
Because I was just going to talk about the water bill flyers are going to go out in April, May, and June. It'll be the third sheet. Do we care about the color? I do know that there's something else that's going to be going in the water bill about beach stickers and dump stickers.
Already, yeah, I got mine already.
So what color, was it color?
No.
Okay, so we can pick a color, whatever color we want. Blue, green?
Something that's easy to read.
Green. Nice light lime green.
Well, I'll ask them for that standard generic green that you get in the reams of paper. I'll double check and see if there's anything else in there that's going to be green already. If because we want us to be different.
Somewhat of a contrast.
So if it's already green, I'll pick like a blue and we'll just go. Is that okay? Or yellow? Yellow? Okay.
Stands out. They stand out, that's what you want. Stand out.
So does orange, but
It's not a pink slip.
And you're
yeah.
wearing it.
Too pink.
Right. Okay, I think
Tough crowd.
that's good. I think we got a good start. So we're getting there. That looks great.
Consultant?
Yeah, I did reach out with a requested kind of a scope from Nate Kelly from Horsley Witten, and he did respond and provide a draft scope, basically helping us through the development of the goals, purposes, and objectives, which would really be right before the second series of workshops and the second survey. I'm working a little bit with him to kind of finalize the scope, but he did have one good suggestion that I think that we should incorporate was, he was concerned that if we had the planning board workshop ahead of the regular workshops, it might influence people's comments or might present some type of bias, which I thought was a good point because we have been concerned. I mean, I know that Norm Holcomb was concerned about that. Yep. So he recommended that once we've done with the workshop and the surveys and we're presenting the information, the summary to the board, that'll be your good time to offer your insights and inputs into the goals. So you'll have your opportunity, but the idea was not doing it before the public workshop, which I thought made sense. So we would just edit the visioning process a little bit to reflect that and get rid of basically the separate workshop prior. Does that make sense? And he also suggested having 2 Horsley Witten people at the workshops versus 1 person for the moderator, just kind of helping them so they're both hearing the same thing as part of the input from the public, so that when they're starting to summarize and come up with their objectives and goals, that there's more than 1 person who has kind of heard all of this. We did something similar with staff when we were doing the Route 6A public meetings. It really was helpful to have multiple people kind of hear the same thing the same way. I think a lot of this will be written down, but I think it kind of made a little bit sense. So I was going to refine the scope a little bit and get it to him to revise, and hopefully we can get him under contract as soon as possible so we can start having him reviewing some of our documents and moving forward.
Very good. Meeting minutes? January 15th, 2020.
Make a motion to approve?
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Abstain.
So noted. Board of Appeals agendas and decisions. Kathy has sent those out along with Sandy. Committee updates, board members. Tom, we'll start with you.
Nothing specific, but there is a meeting, there's a training session next Monday about, what is it?
Form-based code.
Form-based, yeah, form-based zoning. And I'm already registered on that. And you should have all been sent a notice, I'm sure, but it is, it's good to get that information, get that training to see how it applies to our future work.
Joanne?
I've had neither Capital nor CEDC
Lee?
meeting.
With the water resources, we're getting ready to do a workshop on Monday with... You want to be on the mic? We're doing a workshop on Monday with the Board of Selectmen and continuing the talk about articles and how we're going to fund the program with some recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. That's about it.
Just to follow up on that, the Tri-Town, 3-town select board members are going to be meeting on the 27th. And at that time, I believe that they're also going to be going over the cost peer review that was being done by Weston and Sampson of the work that was done by CDM. So that should be an interesting meeting, and I think the Board of Selectmen seem to be waiting for that to make sure that all of the savings that have been projected still are making sense with the
Is
peer
that right?
review.
What's that? You have any reports?
We have a design review coming up.
We're going to have some design review coming up. I had sent out some feelers for some dates. I still haven't received the actual application, but we will definitely be having some. I have at least one, possibly two, that are coming up in the near future related to a BCOD site plan review.
There's a little bit of percolation there, but
Good.
nothing yet. Report once we have it.
Our last CPC meeting, we voted not to pursue 75 Meadowbrook Road, and one of the reasons was the appraisal. CPC can only consider their appraiser figure, and the seller's appraisal came back approximately $150,000 over our appraisal, so obviously it wasn't going to be considered and voted down. Good news in regards to Yarmouth Gardens for the trust. The Commonwealth Community Partners owns the property now. They executed the P&S, and they're going to be starting before too long. The trust is loaning them some money to get started for demolition until they get approved from the state in regards to all their state financing along with tax credits. So that's going to be moving. Once it moves, it's going to be moving fast. Correspondence, any additional correspondence?
I just have a question. I'm waiting, poor Kathy's writing like a fiend.
I just wrote Brad Goodwin question. I'm waiting.
All right, it's called being polite. It's one of those things I'm not known for. Are we, usually this time of year, we're doing stuff for a May agenda for town meeting. It's
Yeah.
my understanding, I guess, we're not going to have anything.
Correct.
All right, so
Woo-hoo.
that's, okay. That was
Yeah, we
one.
did it twice last year, and annual and fall.
Right.
And I think we're really going to be emphasizing, obviously, the visioning process this year. We might have a few tweaky things that we might have to deal with in the fall, but no major zoning initiatives while we're doing the visioning.
Okay, there's one of those things, I was looking back at my notes going, wait a minute, usually we're dealing with this stuff, and I didn't see anything on our radar. The second one is just a question for everybody here who lives in Yarmouth and may have their feelers better than I have at times. I've been getting some feedback from people when I go to the supermarket that we're having issues with the Dakota properties. and police and fire are being called more than they expected. Is anybody else hearing that? Or am I just getting some bad info?
We heard that on the trust,
You did.
and Mary Wagon brought it to our attention. And there's going to be a series of meetings that are scheduled, the police department, fire department, and town administration, relative to what's expected of the clients, the tenants living in the building. But yeah, there has been some concerns brought forward, and they're going to be looking into that. And that's one of the things that we kind of were conscious about on the trust with multi-unit buildings. And we decided quite some time ago that we would support a multi-unit building in South Yarmouth, which is Yarmouth Commons, and then the same in West Yarmouth, which is Yarmouth Gardens, and not to consider any other multi-unit buildings on 28. Now, we also talked about creating opportunities for top-of-shop housing. We've been talking about that for years on the planning board. And I think that you may see some of that coming forward, or smaller areas of, say, 4 to 6 units, like Virginia Drive with the Habitat for Humanity. But, yeah, those are some of the issues, and it's disheartening to see that after all the effort that went together. And one of my pet peeves was cameras in the building, in the hallways, and in the parking lots. Well, they put the cameras in the security system in the hallways and front and rear doors, but they didn't put them in the parking lots. So they're going to put them in the parking lots now, and that's going to, again, hopefully tamp down some of those problems.
Thank you. Somebody caught me off guard a few weeks ago, and I forgot to write the question down, and I just remembered it a few minutes ago, so thank you.
Correspondence, additional correspondence, Kathy?
No, it
Or
was
staff
mostly
updates?
just ZBA agendas and decisions.
Joe?
So it wasn't too exciting. And then Tom had already mentioned the training.
Upcoming meetings, February 19th, and then we have March 4th.
I think the only thing I want to say is I'm on vacation next week. So that's kind of why I'm scrambling a lot with this, because I won't be around next week. So we do have a meeting on the 19th scheduled.
Okay.
I don't know whether I'm going to have a lot prepared for that meeting. I don't know if you guys have certain things you wanted to talk about or what, but I'm not going to be able to prepare a great deal of information for that meeting. We can certainly schedule it, we'll put it on the books for more discussion on visioning, and then we can kind of figure it out as we go along.
Well, I think we've done some pretty good work this evening, and I think that we can build on that. Possibly cancel February 19th, is that what you're alluding to?
All I'm saying is if we have the meeting, I won't have a great deal to offer at that meeting.
Well,
You guys may have a tremendous amount, like tonight, where we got a lot of good information, so it's up to you guys.
Well,
We're going to have, just so you know, in March, there's going to be, we will definitely have a scenic road hearing for some tree removals on Thatcher Shore Road, and then we will also be having the VCOD site plan review. So we will have some business items in March, as well as continuing with our visioning.
okay, so at this point, do we want to schedule February 19th for a meeting?
It's up to you guys.
You may want to hold off until she gives you an email and saying, Mr. Chairman, do you want to cancel? And you can send out an email. She may get something business coming in, I don't know.
Well, I'm just thinking about,
There's nothing that I know of that's
Okay.
coming that would be
No, there-
required for the 19th.
I'm considering her workload and her ability to do it going on vacation.
Staff, come on.
Pina colada in one hand, pen in the other.
Yeah, right.
Where's your vision? Come on.
Oh, I have a vision.
That's Yarmouth vision.
It's a little different.
Okay. Item number 9.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Who's
Is there a
seconding?
second?
Second?
All those in